Boeing is now in more trouble following a major congressional hearing from the company's CEO. So just this week, a story broke that many Boeing planes have what are called pickle fork cracks at the juncture of the wings to the fuselage. And now flight attendants are standing up to Boeing. 28,000 flight attendants, American Airlines, are refusing to work on unsafe Boeing planes and letting it be known that they have to be included in the discussions before they board a Boeing 737 MAX again. Michele Greenstein files this latest report for us.
Rick, the American Airlines Flight Attendants Union is demanding an active role in the relaunch of Boeing's 737 MAX jet, a plane that's been grounded in the United States since March. Now, American Airlines, which has removed this plane from its flying schedule since January, is the second largest U.S. operator of the MAX jet, with 24 of them in its fleet prior to the grounding. In a letter to Boeing's chief executive, the union president, Lori Bassani, states that the 28,000 flight attendants working for American Airlines refuse to walk on a plane that may not be safe and are calling for the highest possible safety standards to avoid another tragedy. The letter comes 2 days after hearings in Washington, during which congressional lawmakers questioned Boeing's CEO, an event that's been widely described as a grilling in the corporate press. These hearings are the result of two fatal crashes involving the jet model, one with Lion Air of Indonesia and another with Ethiopian Airlines. This also comes as a Chinese company, the Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China, may be gearing up to disrupt the near duopoly over the market that Boeing and Airbus currently enjoy, with its own civil jet aircraft currently in its testing phase. China, which will soon surpass the U.S. as the single largest aviation market in the world and which had more of the 737 MAX in the air than the U.S. at the time, was the first to ground the plane, even before the FAA. A possible sign that the FAA, with its deep links to companies like Boeing, may be losing credibility as a global leader in airplane safety regulation. Boeing is the second largest contractor for the Pentagon and received $27 billion in contracts from the U.S. government last year, a number that makes the $15 million Boeing spent lobbying the U.S. that same year seem a little less substantial. In fact, significantly, Rick, the FAA delegated some of its oversight to manufacturers, and that includes Boeing. And it's these cost-cutting practices of the FAA that may be responsible for the deaths of these 246 people. Rick?
Thanks so much, Michele. By the way, joining us now is former NTSB official Jamie Finch to try and catch us up on what's going on. For these flight attendants to come out and say, 28,000 of them, look, you better come to us before you do a deal, or we're not going to step on that plane and do our jobs on those on that 737 MAX 800 or whatever the hell it's called. Well, that's crazy, isn't it?
Well, it lets you know how far they've gotten with this, the lack of trust that people have in Boeing and people have in the FAA. They have always relied on their reputations and so forth, and they've sullied themselves. And so now everybody's kind of questions like, I don't really know if I really trust what you're saying or what you're doing. And the testimony this week didn't really, I don't think, really brought any assurance to anyone.
But what does that say? Think about this for a minute, Jamie. What is the signal being sent to passengers if flight attendants say they're uncomfortable with what's going on with this airliner?
Well, I think what it's saying to the passengers, don't get on this plane. But what it is saying to everybody else, and what it means for them, and what the airlines and Boeing have to have, they have to get these airline flight attendants and the pilots on board with them to be part of the PR. Because remember, part of one of the biggest problems with all of this is that there's a huge PR issue right now with Boeing and public confidence. And so getting the pilots and the flight attendants involved in this is very important for getting.
So they should have been doing this from the get-go, as we like to say.
And so while flight attendants, which I want to be very clear, it's very important to remember, for people to remember, that flight attendants are not waiters and waitresses in the sky.
They used to be, but that changed after 9/11.
They are safety officers for the airline. They are there for your safety, not for your service.
Right.
That's one of the things they do in the meantime, when there's rarely a need for the safety part of it. But whenever you do need it, you want them on it.
No matter what that drunk guy in first class thinks.
Exactly, no matter what they say. But this is very important. We want their opinion. We respect their opinion. And we want them involved in this, but they are safety officers, not safety officials. And so we need to let the investigators and like NTSB and their recommendations that they make out of this investigation, and see what they have to say in those investigations, and then follow through. But at the same time, having a seat at the table with the pilots and the flight attendants for the investigation to get them signed off on this.
This is crazy, Jamie. In the end, we've got all these planes that we still don't know if they're ever going to be able to fly, and we don't know exactly what the fix is that they're working on because the last one they worked on didn't seem to work. This is a real schism that we're dealing with here with this airline. We're down to 10 seconds if you want to close with the
Boeing
last
is
word.
getting in a lot of trouble, and these cracks in these wings this past week is not helping them at all.
Wow. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. Jamie, as usual, thanks for having us. Or thanks for being had, I suppose I should say. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan. Let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Huawei. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.